In the Star Wars movies we can see countless well-known starfighters, like the TIE Fighters, X-Wings and the ARC-170s. But did you know that there are many more unknown yet incredibly cool fighters in the Star Wars universe that hardly anyone knows about? Today I'll take you on a journey to 7 of these unknown yet absolutely fascinating starfighters. From the Empire, criminal organizations, the Mandalorians and more. Be sure to let me know in the comments which one you find most interesting and if you're missing any other fighters on this list. Let's start with this one, the Kihraxz Assault Starfighter, an 11-meter-long starfighter manufactured by TransGalMag Industries, by the same people who are responsible for the hyperspace rings of Jedi Starfighters and the large Bulwark battlecruisers. At 11 meters, the Kihraxz was slightly shorter than an X-Wing, but almost 4 meters longer than a standard TIE fighter. While the fighter had shields, it wasn't equipped with a hyperdrive, and therefore relied on carrier ships to travel across the galaxy. A single pilot in this starfighter could reach speeds of up to 1050 km per hour in the atmosphere of a planet, and had access to various light blaster cannons and assault missile launchers. But the really interesting thing about it, beside its appearance, was that it was manufactured for the Black Sun. You'd think that a reputable company like TransGalMag wouldn't be able to openly manufacture products for criminal organizations. But that shows just how influential the Black Sun was throughout the galaxy. That it was able to have its own starfighter manufactured for itself. Presumably through various shadow companies that were able to make the whole thing look somewhat legal. The sale to the Black Sun also ensured that these Kihraxz fighters found their way into other hands for mostly other shady characters. It didn't stop there with the Kihraxz, however, as TransGalMag sold another variant to the Black Sun, the Rihkxyrk assault fighters. We don't have exact length specifications here, but we do know that they were significantly slower and bulkier than the Kihraxz fighters, with a maximum speed of just 750 km per hour in atmosphere. These single-seaters were extremely well armed and equipped with countermeasures. They had one launcher solely for countermeasures, designed to intercept enemy missiles, were armed with several heavy triple laser cannons, and also armed with several assault missile launchers. Enough armament to be considered one of the most heavily armed starfighters of their time. But even these fighters fell into the hands of pirates, mercenaries or, for example, the Death Watch. If you were a Black Sun pilot, would you prefer a fast, maneuverable, lightly armed fighter, or a slow, bulky but well-armored and heavily armed fighter? Significantly longer, at 20 meters, were the Aggressor starfighters. Those were equipped with both shields and a hyperdrive and could reach a maximum speed of 1200 km per hour. Because they had more space inside than most other starfighters, they could install better energy reactors and also house really good weapon systems. These included 2 heavy laser cannons and a long-range ion cannon. The latter could target and hit enemies long before they had a chance to fire back. Just as you also have the option to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. That would be extremely helpful for me. This Aggressor class is probably most famous thanks to IG-88, as he flew a fighter like that, the IG-2000. Speaking of ships belonging to rather shady characters, we also have the V-92 TIE starfighters. We don't really have any information about them, but they're from Star Wars Outlaws, and thus haven't been part of Star Wars for very long. Since Star Wars has been a bit more reserved with new spaceships, starfighter and vehicle designs in the series and video games in recent years, I wanted to include them here. In the game they were used by members of Crimson Dawn and the Pikes. And the design is reminiscent of the X-Wing and Z-95 Handhunters, but still has a lot of its own design elements. And I really hope to learn more about these ships in the future. we've now already seen Black Sun, Pike and Crimson Dawn ships, and we'll get to 2 Imperial Starfighters in a moment. Let's first look at another Starfighter, one manufactured by the Mandalorians, but produced for the Hutts. But since the Hutts had their own government with their own region, this was a much cleaner deal than the one between Transgal Mech and the Black Sun. These M12-L Kimogila Starfighters were intended to be used both as patrol ships and as starfighters in one-on-one combat, which is why particular emphasis was placed on armor and armament. They were also single-seaters and armed with 3 heavy laser cannons, a proton torpedo launcher and an assault missile launcher. They were said to be quite large fighters, although we don't have exact figures, and they were only supposed to be able to reach a maximum speed of 850 km per hour in the atmosphere of a planet. Due to their good armor and, above all, their good armament, which made them strong against fighters and capital ships, they also gained a good reputation among mercenaries and pirates. These fighters were extremely expensive, but still cheaper than buying a corvette or a frigate. Yet they could deliver similar powerful damage in a small group. These were a lot of starfighters for criminals, mercenaries and pirates. But the Empire also had some interesting, lesser-known fighters including both TIE and non-TIE fighters. Like the TIE Aggressor, a fighter-bomber hybrid that was supposed to combine the best of both worlds. It could reach speeds of up to 1,100 km per hour in the atmosphere, and was equipped with laser cannons at the front, a laser cannon turret at the rear, and a missile launcher, and was manned by a pilot and a gunner. However, this TIE fighter also lacked shields and a hyperdrive. On paper it wasn't bad at all. A lot of power at the front, defensible at the rear thanks to the turret. The problem with them, however, was that they flew similarly to Y-Wings, and were therefore not really maneuverable. At the same time, they were relatively large and offered a large surface area for enemy attacks. They also had no shields, making them relatively easy targets for the fast, powerful rebel fighters. The TIE Oppressor looked almost exactly the same, however it didn't have a laser cannon turret at the rear, but was armed with 2 laser cannons at the front, 2 missile launchers and 2 additional projectile launchers. This, combined with a top speed of 1,450 km per hour, should have made the Oppressor significantly more powerful. Unfortunately, again, it wasn't equipped with shields either, and it probably flew more like a fully loaded Panther than a nimble Nexus, which is why pilots didn't like flying the Oppressor very much. And then we had the Preybird Starfighter. At 21 meters long, it was quite long. Speeds of 100 mGLT in orbit and 1,150 km per hour in the atmosphere were okay, but not outstanding. But this fighter did have shields, a hyperdrive and 2 heavy laser cannons as well as 2 assault missile launchers. What made this fighter special was that one of the launchers was aimed forward, the other was aimed backwards. This meant the Preybird could also hit targets behind it with its own missiles. Although the Preybird hit the open market shortly before the Battle of Endor, it wasn't a popular starfighter, until the Empire splintered, lost more and more factories and shipyards under pressure from warlords and the New Republic, and eventually found itself forced to produce starfighters other than just TIE fighters, because they simply no longer had enough capacity to replicate TIE fighters themselves. This made the Preybird a frontline fighter for the Imperial remnant. But which of these starfighters do you find most interesting? Also extremely interesting were the capital ships of the Separatists, like the super heavy subjugator class of the Malevolence, or the lesser known hard cell transports or munificent frigates. But for more information about these and many other capital ships of the Separatists, check out my 50 facts video about them here in the end card. With that, I wish you all a wonderful day, and may the Force be with you.